everybody. Welcome to AppNexus Summit 2017. So firstly, how about Spark, that band? Can we have another round of applause, please, for Spark? Come on. That was amazing. For those of you who were here last year or the year before, we had dancers. That was cool. But drummers, now everybody's really awake. Anyone who's got kids knows that that's what the noise sounds like when they come into your room first thing in the morning. OK, for those I haven't met, my name is Nigel Gilbert. I'm based out of our London office for AppNexus. And I'm here to tell you this is a record-breaking year for AppNexus Summits. This year we had over 1,000 registrations, applications to come. We could only actually accommodate just over 700 people. So of course that's folks in the room here. There's 2 breakout rooms outside. And that doesn't even include the folks that are going to dial in on the live stream from all across the world. We've also got something like 28 countries represented here in the building. In actual fact, the only continent that's not represented, marketing put this together yesterday, is Antarctica. I thought this was pretty impressive. I was saying to Brian, we've got people from everywhere except for Antarctica. He was like, right, next year I want 100% coverage. So yeah, if anyone knows any publishers, trading desks down there, can you let me know? I've got a new KPI for next quarter. But look, it's easy to see why. Like the content and the agenda lineup that we have is outstanding. You guys will have seen from the brochure that it's all based around the strapline of build a better internet. I mean, I'm European too, so I look at straplines like that and I think, sure, I can be a bit cynical, a little bit skeptical. Right, we're going to build a better internet. Cool, we'll come and we'll see what that means. But if you take a step back, one thing that probably all of the Europeans, and frankly, possibly even the Antarcticans, would agree on, and we don't agree on much these days, is that the internet currently is broken. The incentives are not correct. The content we consume is in jeopardy. And one thing I've learned from being at a business like AppNexus, I've been here for nearly 6 years now. My previous company was a media company that I worked at. And the future for a media business is next quarter or next month, sometimes even next week, depending on how you're targeted. The future for a software business is next year, or even the year after. You can't actually build things for how the market's transacting this month or next month. You have to build things for how things are going to look next year. And if you zoom out, that kind of time frame is what we're looking at to try to safeguard the open internet, the opportunity for companies to grow and develop and flourish, businesses like us. So we have a responsibility in that area. OK, so that being the focus, that being the content, and that being as important as it is, we also took over an issue of the drum. I promise we don't have a theme of drum and drummers going all the way through. This is the last time I'm going to refer to it. And of course, we have this wonderful picture of Brian on the front. It does look a little bit intense. I don't think he's always that serious. But judge for yourself. I also don't think that photo is very recent. But he'll probably kill me for saying that. So anyway, let's get things started. We've got an enormous amount to get through for the next 3 hours or so. So let's bring him out, the man on the cover, our CEO, Brian O'Kelly. No worries.
Good morning, everyone. Thrilled to be here in London. On Tuesday, I was in Berlin, and I was there to sign a contract. But I also happened to be at Axel Springer headquarters the day that they were breaking ground on a brand new building. And it was a big ceremony. There were press. It was the mayor of Berlin, Frieda Springer, the wife of Axel, Matthias Dopfner, the CEO of Axel Springer, and then Rim Koolhaas, the architect who designed the building. And they're all giving their speeches. I'd love to tell you what they said, but they were all in German. And as they're starting to close, Koolhaas grabs the mic from Dopfner. He says, I want to say something. He says, I started my career as a journalist in 1968. And when I heard that Axel Springer was building a new building, I wanted to build it. Because Axel Springer must make a transformation from being a traditional print business to being a digital business. And for me as an architect, the thing I want most is that my buildings are needed. And I thought about that. Here's a guy who's a world-famous architect. He's won the Pritzker Prize. He can build anything he wants, and he chooses to build this building at this time for this company. Now, it's a beautiful building. It's going to be absolutely stunning, right on the site of the Berlin Wall. because the main Springer building is 2 meters away from where the wall was. So talk about a building that reunites the parts of Germany that were broken. And as I spent the day meeting with executives at Axel Springer, I learned more and more about the history of this company. Did you know that Axel Springer himself established 5 principles for the company? And if you look at these principles, you realize this is a publisher that is committed to many of the things we need today in this world. And that last one really resonates with me. We reject political and religious extremism. We're at a time of great turmoil politically. We have Brexit. We have an interesting new president in the United States. We have some scary elections in France. We have the Middle East in turmoil again. We have potential nuclear crisis apparently in Korea. Thank you. So right now, what we need as a society is organizations like Axel Springer with these values that are willing to produce content that actually helps us come together as people. And so I agree with Rem Koolhaas that that building is needed and that transformation to digital is needed. But I believe that we in this room also have an equal obligation back to organizations like Axel Springer. Our obligation is to provide a way to monetize this content with advertising in a way that funds journalism, that allows for the free and open consumption of high-quality content. I don't think this is just an internet problem. Our world is converging with the internet. Now, some of you may be thinking, Brian, this isn't our problem. We can trust the Silicon Valley platform companies. They have our best interests at heart. Now, many of you work with a company called Google, and you rely on them for monetization and for ad serving. They announced their Q1 results last week, and if you dig through those numbers, there's something absolutely shocking. We all know that Google and Facebook command a very large percentage of all the dollars spent on advertising globally. And I think many of us would like to think that our businesses are benefiting. That, hey, I use Google, and so, yeah, they're getting a bunch of money. I'm sure I, as a publisher, am getting my fair share. Check this out. Last year in Q1, 29% of Google revenue went to their publishing partners. This Q1, 19%. That's right, mic drop. From my perspective, that might have been someone's jaw hitting this. This is stunning. This is a company that is definitely growing its share of advertising for its own properties, for YouTube and for search and nobody else. This is not going to fund a free and open internet. This is not going to help Axel Springer or anyone else make a digital transformation. This is a company that is doing exactly what is best for itself. I believe we can do better. I believe we have an obligation for ourselves, for our companies, for this ecosystem, but really for the fate of the free world. I hate to take it there, but this really is a moment where if we do our job as media and marketing executives, we can actually find a way to fix what I think is increasingly a broken internet. We can be the architects, like Rem Koolhaas, who build the ecosystem that funds a better internet. And that's what I want to talk about here today.
All right. Fantastic intro. Wonderful building as well. We've got to fix these problems then. So are we ready for the next 3.5 hours? We're going to get through these challenges. How are we going to go about doing it?
Well, I have a slide for that. So I wrote down 6 challenges that I think we can address. Now, these are the things that if we as an industry can resolve, I think we can actually put ourselves in a position to really grow and thrive as a digital ecosystem. So let me walk you through them. So first, we have open monetization. We talked about DFP. We talked about the reliance on Google. Publishers have to have an open path to the best monetization out there. We have extraordinary companies, agencies, trading desks, Criteo, Amazon, Facebook. All of these companies spend billions of dollars on advertising. And if you're not able to get open access to that money, you cannot grow and scale your business. We have to address this.
Okay, good. That's first. Open monetization. What's next?
Second, GDPR compliance. There's a real possibility that 1 year from today, many of the companies in this room will not be in business anymore in Europe. I think this is one of those existential moments of crisis where we either resolve and address these issues, or maybe we can put our heads in the sand and hope they go away. I don't think they're going to. We have to get through this GDPR transition.
Agreed. Okay, good. Third.
Brand safety. Raise your hand if you would like to see your company's advertising appear on jihadi websites. Takers? See us afterwards. Yeah, you don't have to turn lights on. Nobody raised their hand. And they definitely won't if you put the lights on. But it's not just, some of these brand safety issues. This is also about trust in media. Every study I see says that citizens of every major country no longer trust media to tell the truth. They don't know the difference between fake news and real news. And to be honest, it's taken companies like Google and Facebook months to even comprehend that this is an important problem to solve. They would love to say, we're just platforms. It's not our responsibility. Yeah, until Zuckerberg gets political aspirations. So I think for me, this is a moment where we have to get marketer trust in this ecosystem back to fund the kind of content that will really help consumers regain their trust in media. If we get in a vicious cycle where all content just goes down the toilet because there's no money to fund it, then we created this problem for ourselves. I think we have to get through this and rebuild the trust in this ecosystem.
Okay, good. Obviously a very important one, close to Brian's heart there. Fourth, identity.
We're keeping this really easy today. We've got to figure out a way that we can have a consolidated view of a person. Marketing is all about influencing people's emotions, helping them make decisions. We need a consolidated way, a common way to think about identity that's not stuck in one of these big, closed platforms.
All right, nearly there. Fifth one, machine learning.
Artificial intelligence, it's a thing. I don't think that we're going to live in a world with autonomous robots anytime soon. That said, I do think that if you really want to make marketing work, we have to acknowledge that machine learning and big data and data science and artificial intelligence are an increasing opportunity for us to dramatically change the effectiveness of advertising. And I think if we can find ways to pull that into our businesses, not in a black box way, not in a hand it over to the machines way, but really in an integrated way, let's use these technologies to make our businesses better. We have a real opportunity to help publishers, marketers, and consumers all at the same time.
Very good. And last but not least, video at scale.
Every time I talk to a publisher, they say, I need more video. And every time we talk to an agency, they say, I need more video. And I'm pretty sure video is the thing. TV is going away. In some countries, cord cutting has become, not just a little trend, it's the dominant trend. I think for many of us in the room, we no longer watch broadcast television at all. We consume most of our content on streams, on tablets, on connected devices, and this is a dramatic transformation for perhaps the most effective advertising mechanism of all time. Broadcast television works. What's going to replace it? And I think if we address some of these other problems, if we pull in machine learning, if we address identity, if we address brand safety, we can help those monies move over from television, but we've really got to have a consolidated focus on how to do this at scale. I think that's a problem we have to solve now.
Okay, very good, very good. So those are the 6 pillars. That's the content's going to be based all around this today. We're going to tackle each of these challenges one by one during the course of the next 3 hours. Seems simple? I think that's probably enough time. I think we can almost get through it. So first, let's take the first one, open monetization.
All right.
How do we solve it?
I think there's 2 things we have to do to really nail open monetization. Now, the first one is, I would love it if every publisher would transition from DFP over to the AppNexus Publisher Suite. Is that too blatant?
I think it's reasonable. It's reasonable.
So, a couple years ago, this probably sounded crazy. It's a brand new product. People were very baked into DFP. But the truth is that we've had some of the largest media companies across Europe successfully migrate. And they're seeing significantly better revenue, and they're seeing much better programmatic monetization. It's much easier to work with the big agencies and advertisers. So we've got a lot of good results to report there. And so I think it's a more and more viable option for publishers. And I think we have a panel coming out in a bit. We're going to talk about some of their experiences with that.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's obviously a really big thing here in Europe too. I mean, header bidding's really exploded. But I think since it was originally written in 2008, I think you had something to do with that.
Yeah, that's true. So header bidding is the other thing we have to focus on.
All right.
So that's number 2 on my list. So if you don't feel like migrating your ad server yet, I think you have to figure out how to make header work for you.
Yeah.
And so you're right. It's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's only really taken off, and I think people have their own concepts of how it's working here, because of course it's very prevalent in the UK, picking up in France. It's going to start making its way across the rest of Europe as well. But it feels like it only really exploded when it was open sourced.
I think that's right. I think there's a real fear from many of us in moving away from, let's say, the Google stack onto another proprietary stack.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not sure that switching out one American platform for another is the right answer for many companies. When it's open source and you can actually see the code, then you have a sense of control. And it's also, by the way, free. You don't have to pay anyone to run it for you. You can. There are vendors who take pre-bid and package it. But I think that really was the moment where this became something that not only produced better monetization, but it put the publisher back in charge of their own monetization.
Yeah. So we know this is a key topic. We want to make sure that we can address it. We've actually got 2 sessions. The first one on header bidding. The second one's going to be on ad server. But I think before that happens, well, do we have some kind of announcement that we want to talk to people about?
Well, I think the thing that I worry about with header bidding, I know many of you have the same problem, is that latency and user experience are a concern. Yeah. If you ask people why they don't adopt header bidding, they say, well, it might slow down the browser. And so I think the move to a server-side solution, let's put all of that work in the cloud, could be a really good solution. But doesn't that mean moving back to a black box? So yesterday, we announced that we're going to open source a server-side component that plugs directly into Prebid that is completely free. So, and because it's open source, it's transparent. You know exactly what's happening. So there's no mystery, there's no risk that you're handing over the keys to your monetization to a third party, and there's no charge for anyone. Now this will plug in with all of the major demand sources, not just the ones that Google felt like doing a deal with, and there's no additional taxes for using it. So I think this is the way to make header bidding more transparent and more performant. So I think it solves the one major blocker to header bidding. The other thing I'm really excited about is we haven't seen a huge amount of adoption of header on mobile apps. Now you could say, there is no header because they're apps. Well, if you move header bidding into the cloud, now those mobile apps can make a server-to-server call, get all the demand from the cloud, and actually make header bidding work in the SDK environment. And so this unlocks the mobile header bidding market. I expect many companies to immediately start to jump on that as this gets a little bit more baked. So takeaways for me here are, 1, switch ad servers. Well, not if you're already on ours. Switch from somebody else's to ours. 2 is definitely jump on header bidding right now. If you were afraid of user experience issues, if you didn't think this was ready, now there's a way to do this that's completely free, that addresses user experience issues, and works in mobile apps.
Okay, so free, not just semi-free?
No, free.
Hidden.
Nobody pays anything.
Okay,
and
good.
you can tell because it's open source, and you can run it yourself.
And it works in mobile?
Mobile.
All right, good. Well, in which case, we should probably go into a bit more detail here. The time is right for us to bring out our first panel of experts. Let me introduce then, and introducing his panel, our in-house god of everything pre-bid, Michael Richardson. Thank you.